Well, that was interesting, wasn't it? So that was the fourth state of matter. What do you think of that, Ed? Did you see it?
I only saw the end of it because I didn't realize it was on and the music was on and my YouTube stream wasn't playing. I don't want to get feedback, so I have to make sure the volume's off. I
Yeah,
get all paranoid about it.
yeah. So anyway, that was the fourth state of matter. So that was ball lightning at its best, and that might come. It might come back to the fore because I think we're going to talk about some plasma tonight. So how are
There's
you,
all
Ed?
sorts of interest. I'm very good, thank you, John. I've
Good, good,
actually had a very good day at work. I've had nearly at the end of a big project, so it's all good.
good, good. Oh, good evening, chat room. It's good to see you all. Gunky Fadgets has been here since, well, since before past, I think. Shalini, Red Eye, Patricia, Andrew, Beats and Types, John Fennessy, Dave Tomo, Billy C, Adam, and there we go. Yeah, it's looking good. Looking good. Hi all. It's good to see you. Right, okay, so let's talk a little bit about this strange thing. So I came across this one evening as I was drifting off to sleep. It was, what's his name? That Professor Simon Holland guy on YouTube. I don't know if you follow him. Kind of wacky hair, lives in France. He is English though.
Wacky hair lives in France. That's
Yeah,
very
he's like,
descriptive.
well, I mean, you can't miss him because he's basically bald, but he's got this white hair that sticks up. So he's obviously modeling himself on Doc from the Back to the Future films. But he's got terrible teeth. It took me a long time. Took me a long time to actually get used. I think he might have been trying to fix his teeth because when you watch your videos back or when you're editing, you're going to go, "Oh my god, I've got terrible teeth," I think he's maybe been trying to fix them because they were really off-putting. In fact, they made you feel a bit sick. They were that bad.
That is serious.
Oh, they were serious.
Jeez.
Yeah, they were all over the place. Anyway, Do you remember what Celine Dion's teeth looked like before she got them done? They used to call her Canine Dion. Because she had huge teeth shooting out of here. They were like tusks. But anyway.
Hasn't she made a magical recovery from some?
Oh, has she? I don't know.
Yeah, well, she had some sort of all over paralysis or some weird body
Oh,
thing going on that I'd never heard of.
What's it called?
Yeah,
Stiff limb syndrome
yeah,
or something.
that's the one.
Yeah, well, I thought she'd suffered like that from that all her life.
I think she's got a karmic debt to pay for that Titanic song. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
But
somebody said she had some kind of wasting disease, but I just thought that was her normally. Anyway,
yeah, she's a very strange looking
alien.
woman, and she's had a strange life as well because
She's an
I mean,
alien.
even down to marrying her producer when she was like in
Yeah.
her teens or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, that guy wasn't a pedo, not at all.
No. Can't say that. Anyway, right. So thinking, going back to this Rendlesham Forest. Do you remember Rendlesham Forest, Ed? Did we do Rendlesham Forest?
Yeah, no, we covered it in our UFO
did.
episode.
So Rendlesham Forest is, as you know, It's right beside an American nuclear missile storage base, I think, or it used to be, and it's in between.
No, that.
Well, it's in between. It's in between
RAF Woodbridge.
Woodbridge and Lakenheath, I think. Lakenheath's where they keep the nukes. Although I believe they're bringing them back because they had gone, but I think they brought them back just in case Putin decides to invade. Because he's going to invade Europe, isn't he?
Despite the fact that he's categorically said on more occasions than I care to count that he's got absolutely no plans. It makes no strategic sense for Russia. They don't need it. I mean, it's got one country that's got 11 time zones in it.
I know.
He's managed to basically, I mean, if you see some of the videos and stuff that come out of just like social media from Russia, various Russian Twitterers and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Moscow looks like an amazing city to live in, and
does
I mean,
now.
I'm sure that
Does
there's
now.
probably grotty bits as well. But at the same time, the way that they've managed to, I mean, they're just outpacing the West in terms of production. Anyone that thinks that Ukraine and NATO have got a hope in hell,
Yeah, but they don't have any. They don't have any washing machines, do they?
no,
Because they had to use all the chips for the missiles, didn't they?
well, they've used washing machines. I think they use old Soviet refrigerators for the Kinzhals. And I'm not. I think they might be using old Soviet. You know those old Soviet cars, the really crappy.
Oh, the
ones?
ladders.
Yeah, the Ladas. That's it.
Yeah.
I think they're using old Soviet Ladas to make the Iskander missiles.
Yeah.
That's really amazing how they can repurpose all this technology.
Yeah, the ladder was a Fiat 128, 131, wasn't it? Because when Fiat had finished with the stuff, they sold it to the Soviet states, and they started remaking them as ladders. In fact, somebody posted something on Twitter the other day. I mean, it was a Ukrainian. It was a Russian guy sitting in his car, and this guy jumps in the back, and the guy turns around and he says, "You know, what are you doing?" In Russian, right? I'm assuming he said, "What are you doing?" Right? And the other guy goes, "Oh, you." What is that again with speaking in Russian? You know, use the official language in taxis. And the guy's like, I don't know what you're on about. And the guy starts going on and on about, you know, use Russian, use Ukrainian. It's the official language of Ukraine. You shouldn't be doing that if you're, you know, running a taxi. And the guy's going, this isn't a taxi. How about you just get out and we'll pretend this never happened? So when I worked in Irvine, one of the guys on the shift that I worked with had a ladder. One of those kind of beige ones, and he was sitting outside the railway station in Irvine one night, and this guy came out the railway station and jumped in the back because Irvine had nothing but ladders as taxis. In fact, on a Saturday night, we used to say the place looked like Red Square because it was just full of ladders. So this guy jumps in the back of his ladder and goes, "Up to the cross, mate." He's going, "Ah? This isn't a taxi. Get out!" The guy goes, "No, take me up to the cross, mate. I'm not messing about. I'm in quite a rush." He's going, "It's not a taxi," and he goes, "It's a ladder." And he goes, "It's my ladder. It's not a taxi. I'm waiting on my daughter."
Oh dear. They were terrible cars though. Not quite as bad as the old Trabant in East Germany.
Skoda.
The East Germans, it wasn't the Skodas. It was called Trabant, and they were just. There was like a multi-year waiting list to get one, and they only produced a certain number of them, and you basically had to be a fully trained mechanic to be able to drive one because the damn things just broke down so frequently. But I mean, that was then.
Yeah.
This is now.
Yeah, but Skodas are just Volkswagens now. But do you remember the old Skoda? Skoda with the engine in the boot. Remember that one? So the engine was in the boot, and the front was where you put the luggage. And they had water pipes went up the inside of the car to the heater matrix and then back down because that was how they heated it up. But anyway, one of them broke down in the motorway, and one of our guys pulls in with a Range Rover, and he's going, "I'll give you a tow off." So he goes, "Have you been towed before?" The guy goes, Aye, I'm fine. I can do it." So we're sitting in the Range Rover. Connects it all up, and these Skodas weren't great, right? They were prone to rust. So we pulls away. And he pulled it in half. The guy left the handbrake on, and we pulled the fucking front off the Skoda.
Oh no!
We had to get a low loader.
I can only imagine the look on the guy's face. Oh dear, just craziness.
Yeah.
Anyway, right.
Back to Rendelsham. So some of the guys got injured from that incident in Rendelsham. So they had remember they had burns and they thought they might have had some kind of
Yep.
radiation sickness or something, but no radiation as such could be detected. So what's his name? Professor Simon Holland was doing some research and falling in with some people that were at Rendlesham, and they were doing research as well. It turns out that down at Orford Ness, which isn't that far away, it's at the start of would it be the Fens or something like that, Cambridgeshire type area. But anyway, so Orford Ness apparently had a secret research facility, and they built. When you see the pictures from an aerial view, it looks like they had this thing all laid out, but it was in the form of like a quadrant of a quadrant of a circle, and it was pointing. It was pointing. Well, if you look at the quadrant, the narrow bit was pointing at the North Sea, and the big wide bit was pointing towards Rendlesham, and they were telling people that it was an over the horizon radar facility. So the idea being that you could bounce the radar off the ionosphere if you heated it up, i.e. the ionosphere, and they could see over the horizon using this. But when you give that to people who build antennas and do radio astronomy and things like that and show them that picture, they say, well, it would never work because it's pointing the wrong way. It's pointing at Lakenheath instead of, because the broad bit is the way it's pointing, not the narrow bit. The narrow bit's the receiver. So it should have been pointing the other way if they were trying to see over the horizon. So the consensus is that that was a cover story, which could well have been. So then they did some more.
Me.
Yeah, they did some more digging, and they suspect that it was actually some kind of weapon, like a directed energy EMF type thing, a non-nuclear EMP. Okay?
Could be.
So, and then while they were working on it and using it for practice, and they were practicing, they were running it all through the period when these things appeared at Rendlesham. Suddenly, the Americans turned up and said, right, shut it down, bang, stopped it. And they stopped it within a day and closed the whole facility. And there was a big stramash because people that worked at the facility didn't get any notice. They just, boom, the place is shut. So there was industrial tribunals and everything, but bang, the Americans just stopped it immediately. So the thought is something was going wrong or something weird happened that might have been the Rendlesham incident, and they got scared. What's their name were involved as well? The Stanford Research International, SRI. They were involved in it.
And SRI's not dodgy at all.
No, not at all.
I mean, the
Thunderbirds of military science.
Yeah, because to be honest, I hadn't heard of Cobra Mist before you mentioned it, so I did a quick bit of research before the show, and the official story is very mundane. That they say it was plagued by technical difficulties from the beginning, operated for 10 years roughly.
Yeah.
Decommissioned in 1973. And supposedly shut down because of some sort of background noise. And the source of the background noise was thought to be the actual radar system itself. But the fact that it was shut down as quickly as it was, that doesn't suggest a project that was having technical problems.
No.
That suggests something dangerous.
It does.
And they needed to shut it down because, I don't know, unforeseen side effects. It did. I mean, when you look at pictures of the facility that you can find online, it does have a bit of a harpy kind of look to it. I mean, there's some bits that totally don't look like the harp, but who's to say that it wasn't some kind of research facility that was doing different types of research, and maybe
Yeah.
they were bouncing some beams into the ionosphere and bouncing some towards Rendlesham. I mean, there's all sorts of rumors about mind control, that it was somehow connected to like the MK Ultra
Yeah.
experiments in some strange way. I mean, there are theories that it's a precursor to HARP, that perhaps they discovered some sort of technology using that facility or some sort of side effect. Maybe they started heating the ionosphere too much and a hurricane started forming over frickin' Milwaukee, or a tornado over somewhere else. I don't know. I mean,
It's possible.
it's, but the fact, sometimes when you're looking at these strange events and strange places, because the official story and all of the official narratives are all very sanitized and
Yeah.
very, it's like they've been bleached and tumble dried and folded up nicely. But it's when you look at some of the peripheral events, like you said, the fact that it was shut down as quickly as it was, that doesn't, that's not technical problems.
No.
That's not
That's
issues
fear.
with background noise. That is, they are scared of something.
Yeah.
So it's a strange one, because it's not at all well known about, despite being, I mean, the facility was only 40 miles away from Rendlesham Forest. So
Right.
in the vicinity,
Yeah.
the whole Rendlesham UFO incident is interesting. I mean, that was years later though. That was 1980.
Yeah.
But we've established that that particular area has had some really strange stuff going on. Maybe it's connected to nuclear weapons. I mean, one of the things about the UFO phenomenon is that it seems to be more common in places where there are
Yeah.
either nuclear weapons stored, or they're being tested, or that it's a missile base, or underground silos, or whatever. And I mean, I've heard plenty of stuff from all sorts of different UFO researchers who say that when we started exploding nuclear bombs in the atmosphere, it got someone's attention, and that somehow, I don't know whether it's connected to multiple dimensions or whatever, but that when we explode a nuclear weapon in our atmosphere, it doesn't just impact this
Right.
planet in this
Yeah.
dimension, that it has a knock-on effect.
Remind me to talk about what we can and can't see before we finish tonight. Right. So Rendlesham, the Rendlesham thing, you mentioned the noise. This.
Mm. Well, no, that was, I mean, Cobra Mist with
Yeah, the Cobra Mist
this
was
strange background noise.
yeah, the strange background noise. So you've heard about the hum, haven't you? Have you heard about the hum? Right. So there's this
No.
thing, there's this noise, and it's supposed to be down the road from me in Largs. That isn't that far away. It's only about 35 miles or something. So there's meant to be this thing called the hum. You hear this hum at night, and you don't know where it's coming from, and it's all pervasive. And then there's the ones in, is it Pennsylvania or the Carolinas, where you have these strange bangs and almost musical sounds coming from the sky. They don't know where this comes from. It's just these strange. Maybe they're bleeding through from another dimension. Maybe that's what that is. I don't know.
Or maybe they've got. I think just a quick sidetrack. Maybe you've got Jews under your floorboards. Oh, that was so funny.
Yeah.
And when they discovered those tunnels, and then there was a guy that posted on Twitter, "See, I was right." And if you follow it back, he was actually posting tweets way back, like year or two ago.
Not Dumb Looker.
Uh,
Is it?
yeah,
Oh,
I'm not sure. I think it
Dumb
was, but he
Looker.
was.
No.
But he's basically saying, I can hear people speaking
That's
Hebrew.
right,
I think
Yiddish.
I've got.
He said you
It's like
could
we
hear
don't have a
Yiddish.
basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear people speaking Yiddish. I think I've got Jews under the floor. And then it turns out that they were digging tunnels under. Oh, it's just, you couldn't make it up. It's too funny.
Imagine that happening and that guy going, I told you I was right, you know? I mean, that's just.
But that's what he did on Twitter.
I know.
It just, you just can't. I mean, this is why Twitter is. We love it and hate it at the same time.
Yeah.
Because for all of the trolls and the 77th and the NAFO idiots and all of the nasty people on there, there's a whole bunch of nice people, but occasionally it's comedy gold.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so, right. Talking about things you can and can't see. Now, I don't know if it's an I don't know if it's an urban myth or if it's true or not. But it's always been commonly said that when when the first colonists arrived in America, the Indians couldn't see the big ships because they were so far out with their experience that their brain just couldn't compute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they just basically couldn't see the big ships. Now, if that's true, could that apply to us right now? Could there be things like walking around that we can't see because they're so far out with our normal experience that we've got nothing to register it against?
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. But I also think that any being, any race, any creature, whatever, that's capable of the kind of technology that we're seeing with some of these unidentified aerial phenomena and things like that, then you would think that they would have some sort of cloaking technology or some sort of ability to bend light around themselves, use some sort of electromagnetic field that is capable of bending light, all those sorts of things. And I think also,
a simple Fresnel
but then there's the
lens.
human brain. Sorry,
simple Fresnel lens. You know how you can make an
Sure.
invisibility shield. Basically, you just plump it down in front of you, and it bends the light around you, so it looks like you're not there.
hmm Absolutely. And I mean, beings like that would have a much greater understanding of science and not to be confused with the science.
Yeah.
But I mean, they would potentially have access to different metal alloys and different means of producing electromagnetic waves or anti-gravity, or I mean, you could speculate for hours and hours and hours about
Yeah.
what they might have. But in the sense of humans I mean, the point that you're making is, are there things out there that our brains just can't process, and so we don't see them? I think so, yes. But in this age of everyone having a high definition video camera in their pocket, and also AI's ability to just create videos out of thin air. And I mean, some of the holograms that I'm not sure if you've seen some of. There was one that I saw just before we came on air on Twitter. That was a cat sitting on top of a building, just meowing and minding its own business. And then there's also what they're doing with drone swarms. And there was one that I saw yesterday, which was in Asia somewhere, but it was a dragon going around a building, and I it must have been a drone swarm. I mean, it's unbelievably clever, and that's just what we can do. So if you think of what some super advanced alien or past human or whatever, wherever they come from, whoever they are, interdimensional travelers. I mean, if you can travel between dimensions, then I'm sure you can make yourself, I don't know, you can maybe go half in and half out, and
I still struggle though to understand why people would either cross half the universe or come from another dimension. You know, to
Maybe they come
to
for comedy value.
no, but no, but I struggle to understand why they would do that to cut the anus out a cow. You know, I mean, really,
Well, I I
or do
don't
a bit
know. A
of
lot of those,
casual probing. You know,
yeah. I mean, the cattle mutilation stories, they're a bit like the crop circles stories, although slightly more unfortunate for the cattle. I mean, I, I don't know. It's the short answer.
See,
But at
but
the
the
same
crop circle
time,
ones are weird because the crop isn't damaged.
yeah,
You know, that's the thing that I don't get. Yes, the stock is bent, but it's not broken. And if you did it, when the guys did it with a board and showed how they did it, it was a complete. When you examined how the base of the crop had been bent, it was completely different. Completely
mm,
different. So
yeah,
it's got to be either something to do with the magnetic field in the Earth
mm.
or something like that, or it's got to be a message from space or another dimension.
Um, yeah. I again, anything's possible. I mean, one kind of reverts to Occam's razor. What's the simplest explanation? And I mean, the simplest explanation is that it's people doing it, but that doesn't track with the evidence that we've seen because there's very clear distinction, as you said, between the stalks of the actual crop circles and the ones that are made by the hoaxers. Um, and it this is why people are so fascinated in them because it kind of defies any explanation. Could it be something electromagnetic in the atmosphere or some
Could
sort
be.
of
Could it be a
combination
plasma
that,
event? Could it be something like ball lightning? Could it be some kind of plasma event? That's
yeah, but ball lightning doesn't, those natural events, I mean, if you look at lightning, ball lightning, the lightning that goes up from the ground to the sky, that's freaky as well.
well,
But
that's how
they're
lightning
not,
works. So lightning comes
well,
up
yeah,
for to complete the circuit.
but it looks like it's going
I
down.
know it does.
But
It
there is
just happens
actually
so fast. Yeah.
there is the upside down lightning type of lightning as well that actually does go from the ground
But you
into
get
the
the
sky,
stuff. You
but
get the
it's much more
stuff.
rare.
Get the stuff above the clouds, the sprites and things that go up into the.
Yeah, what are
They
they
look like the
called?
sprites and was it sprites? Sprites are red ones, and then there's other stuff. There's like green ones and things like that, and they're going up into space effectively.
Yeah, I've seen Ben Davidson talking about that stuff on his channel.
Yeah,
I mean, it's absolutely fascinating, and there's so much that we don't know, and we're kind of society and the science is locking us into increasingly narrower little trains of thought because you can't stray outside of the narrative, and so everything has to be climate change and all
yeah.
of the gender nonsense and all of that stuff. And there's no, it just doesn't feel like there's the same kind of discovery going on. It's all just scientists in echo chambers doing peer-reviewed research.
Yeah, because it's a it's a fact of the way that science is now funded. Because science is funded by big business who want to make money out of it, and if you're or they want to steer you in a particular direction, and if your science contradicts the way they want to go, they won't fund it. I mean, look at the people. Look at the archaeologists that found the wall in Mexico. Funding cut off. Look at them.
Nikola Tesla,
Yeah. Look at Fred Hoyle. Is that
yeah,
telescope time taken off him? You know, but I mean, the guy was actually a proper astronomer. You know, so you got all that kind of stuff. And because it's all big science these days, you don't get the guy in the shed working away unless you've got something like the Canadian guy, John, what's his name, the one that was doing the gravity experiments.
oh yeah, did Judy Wood talks about him, John
Yeah,
Hutchinson.
John Hutchison, the Hutchison effect. Yeah.
I mean,
So
the thing is, I think that there are still those experimenters out there, but I think they keep their mouth shut.
yeah, because well, Well, look at the
I
guy
mean, if
that
you
had
invented
the
a free
water
energy
car.
device,
Well,
yeah,
look at the guy with the water car. He was dead within 2 years, wasn't he?
absolutely. And I mean, if you invent a free energy device, you'd have to keep it quiet unless you could figure out a way of getting it out to the world without anybody finding out about it.
Yeah.
But then if you wanted to make any money off it, you'd have to try and patent it. And as soon as you try to patent it, it gets found out about. And it disappears, you disappear. They'll pay you loads of money to bury it. I mean, they have all sorts of techniques that they'll use.
Is Alphabet Cat a scientist?
Alphabet Cat? Oh, chat.
Yeah. Alphabet Cat says you can't go outside the famous Overton window, but I do. I don't just go outside that, I smash it.
Right.
Janet
Smashing
says,
windows. I don't know. Is that you get 7 years bad luck for smashing a mirror, which you get for smashing an Overton window.
that's right. I need to go down to the Overton Bridge as well. I was going to take the dog. I'll keep it on a lead.
That was a funny one. But there is, I mean, there
Yeah.
seem to be places in the world where
the veil is thin.
barrier, yeah, where that veil between dimensions is naturally thinner. Maybe there are certain people who are born who are more sensitive, or whose internal veil is a bit thinner, and they're kind of connected to different parts of the dimensions. I mean, it's like some of the remote viewers, for example. And I mean, they say that any human can be trained to do remote viewing. You just have to kind of apply yourself to it. I don't quite know how that works because I just end up falling asleep.
Did you ever watch Men Who Stare at Goats?
No.
You need to watch that movie. It's quite funny.
Yeah, with a title like that, it would be. So yeah, I mean, going back to Cobra Mist, is it connected to Harp? Was it? I mean, I don't see how. There's some sort of rumors that it was to communicate with extraterrestrials.
No, I think it was a weapon. I think
Mm.
it was being developed as a weapon, plasma type weapon or an EMP type weapon or something like that. And I think something happened that caused them to be scared of the potential consequence. It's a bit like you know when they invented the atom bomb. There was a genuine fear that they might ignite the atmosphere and burn the whole earth, and
Yeah.
and that's still an actual fear because apparently that Tsar Bomba, you know, the Russian one,
Mm-hmm.
biggest one ever detonated. Apparently that was close.
I mean, the thing that always amazes me about that story from the Manhattan Project, where they were worried about it igniting the atmosphere, is the fact that they did it anyway. I mean, it's
and then they didn't just do it once. They then made a bigger bomb and dropped that in the second city.
And I mean, the Soviets, that Tsar bomber, just to give people some perspective, if that was dropped on London, it would pretty much take out the entire southern section. The blast radius would extend, I think, just about as far as the South Downs, which is just north of where I live. And that would be a big circle. And that's kind of, I mean, that kind of explosion, it's weapons like that are intended as a threat rather than to actually be used. Because you'd have to, although, yeah, having said that, there are some crazy people. I do worry sometimes that they'll be giving a certain little dictator in Eastern Europe more unfortunate weapons, but that would just start something that they're not ready to deal with. And fortunately, they might be arrogant, corrupt, evil scumbags, but I don't think they don't want to blow the world up with them on it. Although some of them are stupid enough that they might actually do it and not even realize what they're doing.
That's true. So, hello, Amy. Good to see you. I hope you're enjoying your T-shirt. Oh, remember there is merch available again. So Ben did a T-shirt, and apparently we're going to do a featured T-shirt every month. So you when coming in could have a collection, one per month. But anyway,
To do like a subscription.
yeah, you could.
T-shirt subscription where people sign up and then you send it out.
Yeah, that's true. You could do that. Yeah, because if you did it that way, probably bring the costs right down because then you've got a guaranteed. So I could actually go and get them printed locally and just post them myself instead of having to get them printed on demand. That's quite a good idea. I'll float that with Ben. Watch this space.
It does put you.
Watch this space.
It does put you under a lot of pressure to come up with a design.
But one a month isn't bad, And
it's doable.
Let's face it. I think Ben used AI to do the corn pop one.
It's.
What about Google's AI? It's getting a lot of bad press for being racist.
That's just wokeness taken to. I mean, who at Google is programming that thing? And
Yeah.
if it's going to give you, if you ask it for a picture of a Viking, there were no black or brown or Chinese or Indian Vikings.
Well, I mean, right. I asked a very specific question. I asked for Martin Luther King if he was white, and James Clerk Maxwell or something like that if he was black, and I got two black men. I just got Martin Luther King, right, and I got somebody completely random who was black that didn't look anything like James Clerk Maxwell.
Google have said, we're fixing it very quickly or whatever, but it's the fact that their basic training data and algorithms are set up like that in the first place. I mean, it's if you have to add wokeness to everything, and everything has to be equal, and everybody has to get an equal share of everything. Why? We're probably straying into territory that's a bit sensitive for YouTube on this one, because I mean I lived in Africa as a child, and something that white people haven't experienced.
Must have been hard being ginger and all that sun.
I had platinum blonde hair when I was a kid.
Okay.
Literally.
Sure you did.
My brother it's just the sunshine. Literally, if you put me in sunshine for 2 weeks, my hair goes light. I mean, it's just I'm not. Amy's just Americans have got a strange idea of what gingers are, but Americans have got a strange idea about what lots of things are. So we won't go there. But the thing is that if you're a white person, especially a little white kid in Africa, you will experience racism from the other way around.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. I mean, but it's the same as everywhere. The vast majority of people are really nice, and there is this small percentage of complete assholes that seem intent on ruining life for everybody else. And the same is true in Africa. I mean, I've experienced the other side of it, but it's nobody's better or worse than anybody else. This is the point: is that humans, we're naturally suspicious of difference, because that's what kept us alive.
Yeah.
Going back to when we were bashing each other around the head with bones. And so we're naturally suspicious of differences from the tribe. And so if someone comes along that's not part of your tribe, they could be there to kidnap women, kidnap children, kill someone, steal something, whatever. So we're naturally suspicious of them, and that applies to the world. And to try and make everybody to try and eliminate racism is it's like trying to take away something that's fundamental to how human beings have
Yeah,
evolved and
and
developed.
yeah, you're right, and it's like people that anthro anthropomorphize animals, eh?
Anthropomorphize.
Anthropomorphize animals, like people that do that because
We anthropomorphize everything. Why do you think cars
yeah, yes, I know we
have
do,
got the two headlights?
but
Why do all
animals
cars?
animals are particularly dangerous, right? Because what happens is you get people that bring animals up from from birth effectively, right? And think that just because they've brought it up and it's a tiger, it's not going to eat them. And it's
It depends on the cat. Actually, with
well,
cats, if it's tigers and leopards, you basically can't train them. And even if you have one as a cub,
yeah,
right the way through its life, there is always something in it
yeah,
that can
and
flip and it can attack you.
and
But with
bears
cheetahs
and wolves.
and well, wolves, we're not talking about cats. Wolves are
Well, bears and wolves are the same. Well, bears are the kind of dog family anyway, more
Mhm.
related to dogs than anything. The other one is
Although with bears, I did see a video of a Russian forest
jump rope skipping with.
person
Oh no,
with
the
his
one with
bear.
what's the bear doing though? It's right, but you see, just because it'll do some learned behaviours doesn't mean it's not going to eat you at some point. People that keep snakes, crocodiles, that kind of thing, they're living with a ticking time bomb. I mean, did you see there's this guy lying there with all these pythons over him? Yeah, I brought them up from when they were just babies. I brought them all up, and I just lie here and let them. One day he's going to end up, flat.
Yeah, well, just has to keep them fed. I don't just,
Mm.
but people are such that look, Mother Nature has a way
Well,
of dealing
even
with people like that.
chimpanzees, even chimpanzees
That's like,
do it. Remember that woman that got her face ripped off by her pet chimp?
well,
Just
it's like
out
the
the
bloody
blue.
pet warthog.
The
What are you
warthog.
talking
The
about?
warthog. Yeah, the wart. Don't trust a warthog. Never.
Oh, we should do a segment. We should do like a regular segment on the show of people and animal people having pets that they shouldn't have. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, people are
it's because
stupid
it's
though.
one thing. I've seen videos, and I know gamekeepers in Zambia who you rescue a lion cub where the mother's been snared or something like that, and you can't. I mean, you can't release it into the wild as a cub. You have to look after it, and then once you've looked after it, it doesn't know how to hunt,
Yeah.
and the other lions wouldn't accept it
Yeah.
into a pride anyway. And so it sticks around. And with lions, they can. I mean, yeah, it's still you still need to be wary of them, but they're not quite as likely to just turn around and try and eat you as say a tiger or a leopard. And I think leopards you can't train at all.
A leopard will never change its spots.
No, that's very true. But then, I mean, there has to be. I've always thought this. There has to be a place in the world for all of us, for people, for animals, and I mean, if you look at a lot of the poaching in Africa,
Uh,
um, a lot of those people are really desperate, and they basically have nothing else. And
yeah.
if they
Well, that could be
were
us.
given,
That could be us
well,
shortly. The way
it,
things are going,
it
we'll be going out and we'll be trying to take a sheep.
well, we're going to have to because I
Yeah.
mean we've just had. I don't know if you saw that story about the Russians have decided to negate a treaty
Yes.
between
No more
Britain
fishing
and
in
Russia.
Barents Sea.
Yeah, which is 40% of the cod that we eat. So fish and chips are getting even more expensive.
Yeah.
And it's just it's the idiotic government, and now they're sending
Oh,
more bloody missiles to.
Yeah, and you know,
Just,
after Sunak and Shaps's big thing about, you know, we're sending our aircraft. Well, we're not sending our aircraft carrier to the Red Sea. It's on exercise.
no, we're
And
going to
that,
send one. No, we can't send that one. Okay, we'll
yeah,
send the other one. No, we
yeah,
can't send that one
because that's
either.
broken. But anyway, so
They've now tried.
after the great work the HMS Diamond done the Red Sea, and after the great work the American carrier fleet's doing in deterring the Houthis, they've just gone and sunk a British ship.
Yep. And the Houthis are now also bragging. I should really call them Ansar Allah, because that's their actual name. They don't actually like being called the Houthis.
Is your computer doing anything, or you got anything else running in the background? Because your video looks really broken up to me. I don't know what the rest of the guys are seeing. Okay.
1 sec. Let me shut some stuff down.
Just wondering if you're. It is grainy, yeah. He does look a bit. Well, that said, but his picture's a bit grainy as well.
Nope.
Because you are in the sunny south of England, where probably find that the Russians have been hacking the networks and causing your picture to be disrupted.
Well, I mean, that would be bandwidth, but my bandwidth is fine.
Strange.
It says Zoom, Ring Central says I've got a good connection.
Yeah. I mean, everything looks fine. You're really. I mean, you're fuzzy on Ring Central, which means you're fuzzy on OBS, which means you're going to be fuzzy on YouTube. But it's not as bad looking on YouTube as it is on OBS, I think. But anyway, we'll persevere. We've got your lovely voice to keep us going, and
as long as the voice, as long as you guys can hear me,
and you people can always look at me.
Yeah, you're way more attractive than me anyway.
Oh, thank you.
Fine.
Thank you. I'll take that. I don't get it often. You know, working with Ben, you don't get much often. You know, the guy's got an ego the size of a barn, a huge barn.
Oh dear! Now we're gonna start that. Look,
I thought we're not
discussed this.
Just carry on, mate. Right. Where were we? What were we talking about? Well, we're talking about animals when animals attack.
Yes. Speaking of animals, what about this Navalny's bird, the blonde one? Who looks...
You mean his wife?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Well, she didn't look broken up, did she?
Naya or whatever.
Yeah, she didn't exactly look broken up when she was speaking at the Munich Security Conference.
To me, she actually kind of looked a bit happy.
Yeah,
she was actually, there was a few shots of her where she looked like she was trying to suppress a big poop-eating grin, which, yeah.
Crocodile tears, yeah.
And he himself, the whole thing is just so clown worldy.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've got Navalny, who has all sorts of documented connections to the CIA and MI6, is on video discussing stuff, and
well, he wasn't on video. It was his top advisor, though. I mean,
and then he dies in prison. What possible benefit could Putin have from that? I mean, Putin's just had a great interview with Tucker Carlson. Half of the Western world has voted on Twitter and said that they'd much rather have Putin as the president than any of their leaders.
Yep.
You've got Polish farmers that have got signs on their tractors saying, "Come and help us, please, Mr. Putin."
Yeah.
I mean, half of the population of the UK that is not completely brainwashed by mainstream media into thinking that Putin is some sort of latter-day Hitler.
No. He's nothing to gain. He's nothing to gain and everything to lose.
Nothing to gain. Yeah.
No.
And
so Navalny was never a rival, right? Okay, in real terms. What he was portrayed as a rival by the Western media, but that's kind of what we do to try and stir things up, because for some reason the West continues, the Western government and the Western media continue to hate Russia. This isn't the 90s, it's not the 80s or the 70s. This isn't Soviet Russia anymore. And yes,
It's
you know, Putin was around then, but it's a different Russia now than it was then, and but we're still hating on it. And the thing is, why not work with it? We work with China. It's a freaking communist country still, and yet we work with China.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that I fail to understand about the Russophobia.
Yeah.
Because there is a section of our establishment that genuinely, it's like, and also in the US, you've got people like Victoria Nuland who just have this, they have this visceral hatred for Russia and for Putin, and I genuinely don't understand it. I mean, our establishment, yeah, there's all stories about the Bolsheviks murdering our royal family's cousins or nephews or whatever the hell they were.
Right. Let's be honest, right?
But I think it goes further back.
All the royal families of Europe have been hacking each other to bit for years.
Precisely. I mean, is the British establishment still bummed out about losing the Crimean War? Has it got something to do with what
Possibly.
Putin did with the banks? Because he pretty much nationalized most of Russia's.
Yeah.
I mean, Russia does have some private banks, but not many. Which I think is because wars are ultimately, as Mike Rivero says, all wars are banker wars, and that's something that Putin did. But then Putin's also got. I mean, Klaus Schwab once mistakenly said that he was a young global leader, but there's no actual evidence of Putin being in the young global leaders. But there is plenty of evidence of Putin having connections before he was even known in Russia with Klaus Schwab. So
yeah,
Putin's no angel.
No,
and I'm not.
I think Putin had those connections because I think Putin wants to work with the West, and I think he had this misconception that he could be accepted and Russia could be accepted as part of the West and be part of the big club. And if they'd accepted him, Putin would have gone along and he'd be pulling the same tunes as everybody else. So he's no different from everyone else. It's just he's been snubbed. And because he's been snubbed, he's gone his own way now. And, that way looks more attractive to us because everybody else in the West is in lockstep. I mean, everyone's in lockstep.
Yeah.
Where would you go? Where would you go, Ed? If you wanted to go to a country, right, that you could more or less integrate into, which country in the West would you go to? Because none of them are really particularly attractive. The best bet is probably some, some shack in Kentucky halfway up a mountain. Where you can just seal yourself off.
I mean, to answer your question, if we're talking about Western Europe, I mean, I've got an English passport and a Dutch passport, so I can actually technically live anywhere in Europe if I want to. Still,
well, I've got a French residency permit. I've still got a French residency permit.
I mean, somewhere like a Greek island, and then you just have to fork out for Starlink or some sort of decent internet.
Yeah.
But
your picture's back, by the way. You look good.
Oh, good. I mean, somewhere, like a Greek island, like a small Italian mountain village, somewhere small and
north of Sweden. North of Sweden's nice, but
I mean,
but cold.
Remote enough.
Yeah,
couldn't do the cold. I'd much rather be in Southern Europe.
I quite like the cold.
But somewhere isolated enough that's not where they still do their own thing, and families are still important, and community is still important, and they're not so. Because family and community is important to everybody, but we're so like Western countries, England and Holland, the media particularly have just poisoned everything. They're poisoning people against each other. They're creating problems where there aren't any problems. You have advertisers constantly telling us we're not good enough unless we buy a certain product, or we're not a morally righteous person unless we buy an EV, or when we're not, I don't know, we're granny killers or whatever the hell the latest thing is to try and guilt or fear us into doing what the system wants us to do. I mean, it's all just control. It's all about control.
Oh,
ultimately.
but that's the aim of government, isn't it? Well, number one, control the population. Because if you don't control the population, you can't feather your own nest.
Well, precisely, and you can't get away with loads of dodgy stuff in the background and making your friends rich and essentially selling everyone down the river, which is what successive governments have been doing. I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah.
sold off all the public utilities,
Yeah.
and you just have to look. A great example is Norway.
Yeah, I'm just laughing because everybody's selling off public utilities except Scotland, who are nationalising them again. Like the SNP have taken control of the trains and then just decimated the fucking timetable. Decimated the timetable. So they've just cut the amount of trains. So they're not running it as a service anymore. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Really is ridiculous.
But this is the problem with government, is that government doesn't it both, whether you look at it at a local level or a national level, they're not working in the interests of the people. They're not actually trying to make life better for everybody. They all have their own agendas, and they all have their own like, I don't know, you could say it's connected to Agenda 2030, because if you listen to Rosa Corey, who is the authoritative expert on the subject, she said if you're looking for the source of this in your national government, you're looking in the wrong place, because the whole Agenda 2030 thing is actually being driven by local government. And so all of our respective councils, and whether it's common purpose or whether it's UN training programs or various like diktats that are sent down from on high, it's happening at a local level, which is why we had temporary bike lanes going up all over the UK during COVID. And supposedly it was because I remember when that happened a few years ago, and they were like, oh, there's nobody driving because everyone's locked down, so we're going to put temporary cycle lanes up. But government being government, by the time they'd actually pulled their fingers out of their butts to actually get stuff done, the lockdowns were finished and the roads were all busy. And I have a bug up my butt about this one, because Brighton has one of these temporary cycle lanes right the way down the seafront and it's one of the busiest stretches of road in the whole city. And there's a perfectly serviceable double lane bike lane that's
promenade type thing.
Donkey ships.
Yeah, I saw it. I think I saw that. That's where they were having the race. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's more than enough space on that thing for the amount of bicycle traffic we get. And it hasn't increased enough to justify this supposedly temporary cycle lane. And that bloody thing just bungs up. I mean, instead of making things better, it makes things worse, because you have more cars piled up, going a lot more slowly, burning the fuel much more inefficiently. And there was the other one was I saw a study from Wales where they reduced the speed limit down to 30 miles an hour everywhere. And it's actually increased accidents. I mean, but it's the same as, there's some farmers, there was some good news, because I don't know where it was, but there were some farmers that were fighting an idiotic installation of a massive solar energy farm. I mean, to start with, I'm sorry, but
was that going to be in Cornwall?
I don't know if
I think that was going to be in Cornwall. I might be wrong. It might not be that one that's been thwarted, because, you know.
But I mean, I just I can't understand how any rational thinking human being could possibly think that building a solar energy project in the United Kingdom was a good idea. I mean, wind energy I can understand. Trying to somehow harness tidal energy. Okay, fair enough. I mean, I personally think it's all complete nonsense, and we should just use the gas that we've got in the North Sea, which is nice and clean
And nuclear.
and plentiful. And
Build nuclear.
it's, I mean, yeah, you can build nuclear, but it's if you do it properly. But they're just trying to hamstring the
Mm,
economy with all this green nonsense.
yeah.
And I mean, Keir Starmer is genuinely terrifying. I mean, his the policies that they have talked about basically are just their green stuff, and
Yeah.
it's all about rescinding. Just
See,
don't even get me
see,
started on Starmer.
see, to be honest, right? See if you were the leader of any party, actually, regardless, why would you want to be in power?
Well,
You know, and ask that
given the
seriously.
current power structures, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why
but
would
if
you? Why would you want to be in power? Because you get all the stress and really none of the benefits. Okay. Why wouldn't you want to be a backbench MP sitting there on your ass all day, getting paid for 80, 90 grand and another 200 grand on expenses, right? Why would you want to be in power?
That's a good question. I mean, why does someone like Rishi Sunak, who's got hundreds of millions in the bank, want
Yeah.
to be in power?
Oh, he's just power
It's
crazed. Some people crave control, and he's obviously he's very short, right? So he's got short person syndrome straight away. I mean, look at all the short people in the world: Genghis Khan, Napoleon Bonaparte, Adolf Hitler. What have they all got in common? They were short and they were psychopathic. Mussolini. They were psychopathic leaders who craved power, right? And Rishi Sunak's another one. Now you look at
his wife is much richer than him.
Oh
I
yeah.
bet that
Oh,
bugs him.
that will smart, especially in his especially. I'm not quite sure what caste he's in, because you know when you go down the Indian route, caste is really important. They won't talk about it.
Not racist? How is that not racist?
Oh, of
when
course
you
it's
have
racist.
a class of people that are untouchable and they have to clean. They have to dive into sewers for a living.
I once went out with people who were. One of the guys that was coming with us was an Indian doctor, and we were going out for an Indian meal, right? He was an Indian doctor, and he was happy to come out, all that, until we turned up at the Indian, and he's going, I can't eat here. He goes, I can't eat here. We're like, don't be silly. And we went in, and he sat there, and he never touched a thing. Because I'm just not eating, not having it. Because the people that ran the Indian restaurant were Sikhs. Not of that caste and looked down upon. Just, I mean, this is a guy who's meant to be intelligent. He's meant to be educated, and he would not touch anything in that restaurant.
So why aren't all these anti-racism campaigners and all these woke do-gooders trying to?
Because they're not white. They can do what they like.
Exactly.
They can do what they like.
Well, that's the thing, is that only white people can be racist. It seems. That's
true. That's true.
That's the current narrative. And that white apparently, according to some idiot on Twitter that I blocked about 35 nanoseconds after I saw the tweet, was that white privilege is a thing. And I just tell that to some of the people in council accommodation.
Of course, it's,
like,
I mean, for Christ's sake, growing up, we had an outside toilet. You got up during the night, you either did you did a pee in the potty, or if you needed anything worse, you had to go to the outside toilet. And it didn't have a light on it or anything like that. I mean, I'm just surprised not more people were either assaulted or abducted, because everybody had an outside toilet. And this wasn't like a house. This was a block of flats. and you had outside toilets. It's crazy.
Block of flats with outside toilets. Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you tell me that's white privilege.
That's yeah. There's nothing privileged about that.
No, no, there isn't. You had to crack the ice
But
before you did a dump.
yeah, I mean, it's all political point scoring.
Yeah,
It's all agendas, and it's all about control,
it is.
because you
Yeah.
can guilt people into giving up money or time or whatever. And I feel like we're being shafted from every single direction.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, you know, the governments of Europe are they're basically looking at what's happening with our population and going, right, we need immigration, right? Because our population's not growing. So instead of reinforcing our own values and trying to, doing things that might be smart, like somebody in another big country that spans half the earth is actually doing, like, giving people incentives to have kids and stuff like that. Instead of doing that, they just say, well, we need to bring in immigration to boost our population so as we can pay for the old people who want to get their pension. And you know what? These aren't doctors, they're not lawyers, they're not engineers, they're nothing but layabouts and they are seekers of opportunities that aren't going to benefit the country.
Mm-mm.
That's the problem.
Not exclusively, because there are. I mean, my friend who
Nothing's
works.
exclusive, mate. Nothing's
Well,
exclusive.
no, but I've got a friend who's basically worked at the Student Employment Office, not Student Employment, the International Office at Sussex Uni for many years. And he still has a lot of contact with just Indian students and sort of
Yeah.
people that he's connected with in the past, and he hears things, and the level of difficulty that the government puts in place for students and people who are basically coming to the country to learn and make something of their lives, and then either maybe stick around or go back home. A lot of foreign students who come to the UK end up going back home. But the government makes it super difficult for them, because they can then be seen to be doing something about immigration, but they do nothing about the ones who aren't benefiting. So it's like there has to be, because I mean I'm a migrant to start with,
Yeah.
because I started off. I mean, I've lived in
There's nothing
loads of
wrong
different
with being
countries.
a migrant, but
Precisely.
people that come here illegally and hide their identity have got something to hide.
Absolutely. And they just want to come here and claim free healthcare or
Well, see, that's
like.
half the problem, because if you turn up in France, and good night, Ben. Thanks for popping in, mate. I hope your back gets better.
No, Ben.
Don't get ill because you've been ill. You've got to get better. Anyway, and that's an order. But anyway, yeah, people that what was I saying before I started saying to Ben?
Oh,
Not Joe Biden, but I'm getting there.
Oh god! Did you see that meme of someone done I don't know what AI platform it was, but someone had done a
Don't do
really good
AI.
Joe Biden sitting on some steps with one of those dog collars,
No, I
with his
didn't.
hand on a
I
dog
block
that didn't
people.
have the.
I block people that post AI pictures these days.
Oh, some of them are hilarious. Some of them aren't great. What I like doing is getting the machine to make me one and then changing the head.
Mm.
Because the AIs, they don't like exactly
They're
replicating people's.
still rubbish at doing hands and fingers, feet.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
But
true.
but computers, I mean, if you look back to the late 90s,
Mhm.
and the things that CGI, it took them many years to get right, were water and fire.
Yeah.
Fire particularly.
Oh, fire's really difficult.
very. I mean, they've got
They
that.
still haven't. They
They have
still
that
haven't
crap
got.
now.
Don't. It's still too regular. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, you can tell CGI. It's like I like watching old movies because if you go
Everything's a
back to
practical. Everything's a practical effect.
yeah,
Yeah.
or they leave stuff to the imagination, and there's a
Mm.
lot to be said for leaving
Yeah.
things to the
Yeah.
imagination. Um. So yeah, I don't know where we go from here.
Uh, oh, what time is it? Well, it's 10 past. That's not bad. What do you want? You want anything else you want to talk about?
Well, let me just check because I sent you a little list.
Anything? Apparently, right. So Adams said Jason and the Argonauts. Now he's apparently.
Trident.
Oh, that's right. Right.
So yeah.
So what's your thoughts? Right. So why was it leaked? Why was it leaked that it was a complete and abject failure? So you've got people on Twitter are going, why are we mocking ourselves? Because you do tests to make sure things work, and which is a fair point, right? But by the same token, when North Korea fires a missile as a test and it fails, we mock it mercilessly. So why shouldn't we mock ourselves?
Well, the thing is that this is Britain you're talking about. We mock everything. I mean,
Well, we do, yeah.
it was when they were looking for a name for a submarine, and the whole nation voted for Boaty McBoatface.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how we deal with. I think it's the crappy weather because we have to keep ourselves amused.
I think it's a crappy
Otherwise, it just
government.
goes. Well, that too, obviously. I mean, and in the
Right.
past we had
Yeah.
random Viking invasions,
Yeah, yeah.
and you had the French
That
constantly trying to invade.
spices the day up, doesn't it, when you have a random Viking invasion? It's getting a bit boring round here. What were you having for breakfast? Well, I was going to slaughter a pig and make some sausages. Oh, random Viking invasion! Run! Oh, I'm going to be raped.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, on Trident, well, there's two possible things. Well, there's a few different theories that I've got. Number one, and this is in no particular order. It could be someone was trying to embarrass Grant Shapps because that second time it happened, he was on the submarine.
Oh, beautiful.
It could also be, I mean, someone on Twitter suggested maybe they're trying to make themselves look incompetent so that the Russians underestimate them. But
right.
I find
I find that one a stretch.
I mean, and also every single wonder weapon that we sent to Ukraine has either been blown up in the warehouse or there's a few of them that are still in action, but not very many by the looks of it.
How did our tanks do in Ukraine? I mean, all the Leopards were destroyed, all of them, right? So the much vaunted German Leopard was every tank that was sent there has been destroyed or incapacitated. So I don't know. I don't know how the challenges have done.
I don't think they actually let I don't think the British let the Ukrainians put the challenges into play because they didn't want the
bad press
videos
of
taxpayer money burning on the Ukrainian steppes.
Exactly. They didn't want to go to the Saudi Arabian arms dealer show and say, "Oh, there's a Challenger. It's proven in Ukraine."
Absolutely, and I mean, all of the HIMARS, and I mean, the Russians have got they've got the amount of military technological development that the Russians have done in 2 years is astounding. But that's war for you. That's one of the things that develops technology faster than anything else is war. And they've made a mockery of all of it. The HIMARS, the Storm Shadows, and the thing that I find is one of the things about all of this that makes me the most angry is because Ukraine is clearly losing. I haven't got hope in hell. They didn't have a hope in hell before they started. I mean, Napoleon didn't manage it. Hitler didn't manage it. It wasn't ever going to happen. But instead of suing for peace, they're throwing their own people into the meat grinder. And then just for spite, they're using our missiles, collectively European missiles that have been sent to them, to target hospitals and market squares and bakeries and all of these sorts of places in Donetsk.
Yeah, yeah.
And what is it? What's that place called? The
Donbass?
There's a town. No, not Donbass. There's a town
Oh,
just on the Russian side of the border.
oh yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah,
Bogdanovka.
yeah.
I think it might begin with a B, but I mean, just blatantly targeting civilians, just out of pure
Well,
spite.
and remember, they sent a couple of missiles into Poland, killed a couple of Polish guys, and then asked for a tactical nuclear strike. Because
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that was mental.
And then you have that idiot Stoltenberg now saying that Ukraine has the right to fire long-range missiles into Russia. I mean, you can't. They've seen what
Sorry,
Russia's done.
Are you trying to communicate with dogs?
No, I don't know. I'm trying. It's my level of just incredulity.
Yeah, I know.
Only stretches so far before I'm completely lost for words, because they've seen how quickly Russia's built up their military.
Nectaridus, that's a cracking name, isn't it? Nectaridus.
I mean, you don't start a war with a nuclear armed superpower that is now battle hardened, because they've now got tens of thousands of troops that have been through Bakhmut, they've been through Avdiivka, they've been through Mariupol. You've got former Wagner guys. They've basically got battle-hardened guys now training their new recruits as well. They're developing drones at a rate of knots. I mean, the European Union wants to promise Ukraine 1 million drones by the end of the year or something, and the Russians are doing like that every month.
It won't be there by the end of the year.
Exactly. I don't think. To be honest, I don't think the Ukraine's going to last.
I'm surprised they've lasted as long as they have. To be
yeah, I mean,
really
but that's only because of our tax money.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, I mean, without being, well, I think it does say something to the Ukrainian character that they have actually managed to last as long as they have. Give them that.
I'll credit to them. I've got my beef. It's not with the people. I mean, the Ukrainians, apart from the NAZIs.
Yeah.
But your average Ukrainian in some place, Kiev or wherever, or your average Iranian or whoever, I've got no problem with the people. It's the Ukrainian government, and it's our government, and it just sickens me that they're. I mean, because it's utterly sickening that they are just prepared to throw Ukrainian lives into a meat grinder. Women, disabled people, boys, men, old guys. I mean, and they're not getting anywhere. And it's just because it's a narrative war for the West. Russia's fighting an actual war. They're using solid military tactics. They have decent military training colleges. They don't have a war economy. But when the Russians build a tank factory, and they've been doing this since forever.
Yeah.
They don't just build a tank factory to produce the number of tanks that they want to produce at that moment. They build the tank factory in such a way that if they need to start producing lots and lots of tanks very quickly, that they can basically throw a switch, pretty much. Not quite throw a switch, but they can get that production going. And you've seen how they've ramped it up over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean they've ramped everything. They're on 3 day. They're on a 24/7 shift, so they're running shifts 24/7. They've got 3 shifts going all the time.
They train more engineering graduates than we do,
and they've got the resources on site. You know, it's in their country. They don't have to go outside to get it. they've got oil, they've got gas, they've
Yeah,
got the minerals,
exactly.
they've got everything they need so that they can make their own steel, something that
Mm.
Britain won't be able to do shortly.
And I mean, just the whole it is staggering to me
Yeah,
how these idiot leaders that we've got can still be banging the war drums. I
yeah,
mean,
I
it's
know.
so it's the coordinated nature of it that I'm suspicious about as well, because it's the same as the whole coup period.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I know what you mean.
and I just, but it's so idiotic. It's like they're actually trying to destroy our societies. And how do you stop that? I mean, we have farmers trying to do something about it.
Well,
Um,
see, I disagree with the farmer thing, and I brought this up on TNT. I don't think the farmers are trying to do anything of the kind. I think the farmers are just looking after themselves, mate. You know, they're
well, I
not.
think the French ones are.
Yeah, well, okay, but the German ones are as well because they're just out there looking after themselves. They want concessions on the farming side of things. They want some of the net zero stuff taken away. They're getting that, and they're going back to work. And they're not fighting for your freedom. And it would be great if they were, but if they're fighting for your freedom, you've got to get out there and fight for your freedom with them. But I don't think they're
Well,
doing
that's
that. And the Welsh ones, they had a meeting in the town hall and had a cup of tea, and we've heard nothing since. I don't know what the Welsh ones are doing. You know, and no disrespect, if you're a farmer and you're out there fighting, hey, come on the show and tell us because we're hearing nothing from the UK. Apparently there was a protest in Balfron or something, and I saw 8 tractors going down a street in a Scottish village, and what difference is that going to make, really? No. So if you're a farmer and you know what's going on, let us know so as we can report it.
it's the thing is that people realize because we've had protests with the Julian Assange case. We had
Yeah.
what is it, 2 or 3 million
What
people
about
that were on the
Assange?
streets before.
No
Oh
result. No result. We're still
no,
waiting
I
to
wasn't
hear.
expecting one. Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting a result on the day. That's not how the legal system works. And
Yeah,
also, we have the most evil ruling class on the planet, and they
we
are
do.
intent on torturing him for as long as possible. So they're just going to string it out. Um, and the whole thing is barbaric. And at the same time, they're all shedding crocodile tears about Navalny. I mean, you
But
couldn't make it
Navalny.
up.
See, this is why I made a video about it. I think MI6 killed Navalny because it came at a brilliant time. I mean, it takes everything away from Tucker's interview. It takes all the pressure off of the UK for the IL-76 downing of the POW transport plane.
John, maybe we could get you on Masterminds. Next contestant, John from Scotland. Special subject, the bleeding obvious.
But yeah, but nobody's saying it. Nobody said. I think I'm one of the few
What,
that
nobody
said.
said that the US blew up Nord Stream, but everybody
No,
knows.
but that's the problem, and that's why it's critical for us. The small,
But we could,
the small overlooked media to tell you what we think is actually happening. And I think MI6 killed Navalny. I really do.
I I find it highly credible.
Yeah.
I don't. It doesn't even just doing some basic TV detective investigation and asking a simple question of who benefits,
Yeah.
and you arrive at a fairly obvious answer. I mean, it's not. It
No,
doesn't
no.
benefit Russia at all. It benefits the West because it's all about narrative. This is what I was saying a minute ago: is that Russia is basically
Yeah.
fighting a war with an army and a plan, and the West is fighting a war with narratives
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
the only advantage that the US has got and the UK have got is that we control the world's media pretty
Right.
much.
So Adam has posted something. He was covered in bruises. Yeah. Yeah, Adam, have you ever seen anyone after you've done CPR on them? Have you? Because they're covered in fucking bruises, mate, that you've never seen before. Because basically you're pushing their rib cage into their heart to try and get their heart going again. And that takes a lot of force and a lot of effort. It's not pretty and it's not fun to do. So, yeah, they'll be covered in bruises. Sometimes you even break ribs. So, yeah.
But it was like, I mean, what he said about Liz Truss announcing that it was the deep state that that dealt with. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. Okay, it's great that this is being talked about, and for someone.
Hold on, can I just do a little sketch? Liz Truss, it's done. You remember the call after Nord Stream? Hey Biden, it's done.
Yeah,
that was Liz.
It's
yeah,
and Sikorsky, thank you USA.
Yeah, exactly.
and that guy's now the Polish defense minister. Just FYI. I mean, it's just cartoonish. It really is. I mean, when I was a kid, we grew up. They probably don't make kids read 1984 and Brave New World and Animal Farm anymore.
They should. They made us read Animal Farm. Animal Farm is brilliant book, and it's great way of introducing kids into the dangers of communism.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Socialism, even.
It's absolutely, and the reason that they're not making kids read it now is because they would then look around them and go, hang on a minute, this is a bit like the world that I'm in at the moment.
I mean, my daughter
read it. It's like with these politicians, all pigs are equal and some pigs are more equal like others. More equal than others, aka Boris Johnson.
I mean, my daughter read it when she was about...
What about him?
When she was about 12, I made her read it.
Yeah. No, I mean, if any awake parents listening to this, make a kid read 1984 and Animal Farm. Well, start them off with Animal Farm.
Start them off with Animal Farm.
Because 1984 is a bit depressing, but Brave New World is a good one as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've got a combination of two. It's very
Fahrenheit 451. That's a good book as well.
That's another good one. Yeah. Absolutely.
Soylent Green. That's a good one. There's loads of great. I mean, I lived on sci-fi. I when I was growing up, I used to take my I had twin brothers. I used to take both their library cards on my own and go to the library and get 12 books out, because you get 4 on each card. I get 12 books out every week. My dad used to take me on a Thursday night and I would change all my books. And I would devour books. I'd stay up to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Remember when they had the big earthquake in Wales and everything shook? I was awake when that happened. I thought, that's strange. What's going on? Because I was reading my books.
Yeah, I was a bit like that. I deliberately don't read at bedtime because I will just get too into the book and I'll end up not sleeping. Yeah. I can relate. I don't think I did 12 books a week, but I also spent my teenage years in Holland, and getting hold of English books back then was much more difficult. And
it would be.
But I mean, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Boris wanting £1 million for an interview with Tucker Carlson in cash, Bitcoin, or gold.
He's not shy, is he?
I mean, it's and that's almost like I think it's actually a way of making sure that he didn't have to sit down and talk to Tucker, because Tucker would have made mincemeat out of him.
Oh, Boris.
I mean, but it's just so out in the open. That's what I find astounding, that
I think
they're not even hiding it anymore.
Yeah, but I think you got to be careful with Boris, right? Because it's like Ben says, I think the whole thing is a persona. He plays an act. He's acting.
Sure it is.
And I don't think he's quite as daft as he likes to portray himself as.
No, I don't think he is at all. I think he's a devious, manipulative, two-faced is another good one. I don't I don't trust him. But I find it astounding that he would respond to Tucker Carlson in a way like that and say he'll talk to you, but he wants £1 million.
Do you think he did, or
Um,
is Tucker making it up, or think he actually did do it?
I
That's the other
well,
thing.
the thing is that if Tucker was making it up, then they would have already been all over the airwaves calling him a liar, and
Yeah, I mean
it's not in
Tucker's
interest to make
not
up a story like
squeaky,
that.
but he's not squeaky clean either. Had a bit
No,
of a
but
turbulent
the
past.
thing is, I'm not idolizing Tucker Carlson at all.
Yeah,
I'm not even convinced he's. I mean, I know plenty of alternative media personalities
yeah.
who do better interviewing than Tucker Carlson does. And you
Ah,
don't get to be
thanks.
that popular, and you don't get to have that big an audience without there being
Yeah, I
powerful
know.
people that somehow want you to succeed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do think the way that he's stirred up the opposition,
Hmm.
and seeing how they all had to run around chasing their tails, trying to come up with responses to his interview, and the way that the mainstream media have just completely ignored it. It's a bloody circus.
Yeah.
The whole thing is a circus.
Yeah, it is. It is. The whole thing is a circus. And, I mean, did you watch his interview?
Yeah.
You did watch it, and because we did a show before the interview, and then I went through it with Ben afterwards. But I mean, it wasn't a great interview. He let Putin ramble on about the history and all that, and you know what? I know what he's trying to say, Putin, but catch up. We're in today's world.
Well, no,
What
but
happened? What
but
happened?
that's something that you have to understand about Putin as a person, is he is absolutely obsessed with history.
Yeah,
And
yeah, but that's fine. That's fine. But you can't apply that. That's like saying you can't turn around and say, well, why not? Britain used to rule half the world basically. Why aren't we entitled to keep ruling it?
well, but that's
How far
not what
back do
he
you
was
go?
saying at all.
No, but how far back do you
That's
go?
not. He was what he was saying was the whole history lesson from a Russian's perspective is absolutely essential to understanding what they're doing in Ukraine and why, and what their issues
Well,
are.
I
And he
would
knows
actually,
damn well that most people in the
yeah,
West know bugger all about
but
Russian history.
I would argue that it's not essential to understanding what we're doing because.
But it
But
needs to
all you need,
understand the Russian motivation.
no, I don't think it does because all you've got to do is point out, and if you've got any sense, you would know what's been happening in the Donbass, right? You would
People
know,
don't.
yeah, but all you need to do is look at what's been happening in the Donbass. All you need to do is look at what America did in 2014 with the color revolution, right? And then all you need to do is look at Crimea, who had, elections that they clearly wanted to move back to Russia. So you don't need to go back in time to justify what's happening, and then you can bring out the biolabs that no one touched on during the interview, right? Why not? Because I mean, even America admitted to the biolabs. So why didn't Tucker touch on the biolabs and the whole?
But why didn't Tucker ask him why the Russians had never been to the moon, and whether
Well,
the
haven't they?
Russians have got proof somewhere
Haven't
that
they?
the Americans never went to the moon?
Haven't they? That's the thing. There might be dead Russian guys up there. I think there's a possibility there's dead Russian guys on the moon. And I know that we're going a bit off topic. Well, we're not going off topic because we're on kind of rabbit hole. What's that? Oh, he must be getting a call. These handlers calling. Oh, somebody's come in the background. Oh my God! I didn't know you had a didn't know you had a lover, Ben. Not Ben, sorry, Ed.
No, it's just a
Oh,
friend.
it's just someone coming in doing a raid, getting the chocolates. I look like he took the biscuits in. Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, I think that's what I was saying. I think there's dead Russians on the moon. I really do. I think there's a dead Russian up there anyway. I think the first guy that went up there. Well, I think Yuri Gagarin wasn't the first guy in space, but the first guy in space died on re-entry. I think he got burnt to a crisp.
Oh yeah, no, but there's plenty of. I mean, there are loads and loads and loads of people who ended up dying. I mean, there was the Gemini.
Oh yeah,
what's his name?
Yeah,
Gus
what's his name?
Grissom.
Not Buzz, Gus Grissom. Yeah, but Gus Grissom was an outspoken critic of the Apollo program. Even hung a lemon on the door. And I mean, you know, when you look back at, did you ever watch the thing on the Apple TV, Adam? What's it called? That have you ever seen it? No, the alternative space race, effectively.
I agree with what Adam said about Putin being just as sneaky as our politicians.
Oh,
but
of course he is.
The difference, and yes, he's former KGB, but the difference between Putin is that he's a Russian nationalist that cares about his country.
Yeah,
and if you
I agree with that.
If you look at the way that Russia has improved and his popularity rating as well, because I mean, most Western politicians can only dream of that kind of popularity number.
Oh yeah.
But you look at Russian infrastructure, just all you have to do is look at the amount of metro rail that they've built in Moscow in the last 11 years. It's absolutely astounding. And when you think of how long it takes us to build anything, and it's mind blowing. And it's was it you that we were talking about, a benevolent dictator?
Yes, probably. That's my line.
And okay, so if Putin is a benevolent dictator,
that's the ideal.
I mean, Russia's not particularly free. They've got all sorts of laws. I mean, you can go to jail for 3 years in Russia for criticizing the government.
But yeah.
I mean, I'd really be sitting in a Russian prison for making the memes that I make about the government.
If you don't have a beef and you want a quiet life, a benevolent dictator is the best way.
Absolutely.
It really is. But, you know, most people don't. Most people have a beef and they want to pursue their own agenda, and that's the problem. And nobody ever. I mean, everybody talks about for the greater good and all that, but nobody ever wants the greater good. What they want is the greater good that satisfies your needs.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, these leaders.
I think you might have gone Dalek. You have. That's not bad though. It's taking 1 hour 40. Right. Okay. We'll wrap it up soon anyway, I think. But let's see if we can fix this before we go. So give me a second. Oh.
I don't want to say anything. Tell me when you want me to test it. Oh, buzzing. Lots of buzzing. No, just buzzing now.
Okay.
Dear John.
Can you hear me?
Exterminate.
Can you hear me?
Oh dear.
2 secs.
All I hear is buzzing, John.
Oh, got you.
You got me.
You might have to put up with the buzzing, but they shouldn't hear that. How is it?
I don't hear any buzzing anymore.
Right, how's it going, your guy? 5 by 5. We have achieved it. We're back.
Well done. Oh dear. Okay, cool.
Right, so there we go. Yeah, so Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. A
I
benevolent
forgot what we
dictator
were
is the way to
talking about
go.
a minute ago.
Benevolent dictatorship, Putin being one.
Oh yeah, that's it.
What about
And
Xi? Do you think Xi is a benevolent dictator? I kind of think he
uh,
is.
well,
To a degree, I think,
the thing
because
is that I don't.
China has a lot of problems, and you know what? The hookers in China are getting better looking and cheaper by the day. So I don't think the
I mean,
Chinese
ultimately,
economies, don't think the Chinese economy is going as well as they maybe portray it as.
well, no, and I don't necessarily think China is the. If you look at the Belt and Road Initiative, their
Mhm.
whole way of doing things is they will lend a country the money to, for them to build a port, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah,
and then when the country fails to pay the money back,
yeah,
the ownership of that port reverts back to
yeah.
China.
Yeah. Oh, but they're
Uh,
even better than that, Ed, because not only will they lend them the money to build the port, they will get their own workers imported in there to start working on it to build the port.
yeah, I mean that's the
So they
thing
get
in
they,
Africa.
they get some of the money back straight away.
Yeah, now talking to my Zambian relatives, the Chinese are not particularly popular in Africa because they're building lots of infrastructure. But as you said, an awful lot of the times they bring their own people in to do the
Yeah,
work.
of course they do. Yeah,
Um,
because
and so
let's be honest, any of the people in Africa are work shy soap dodgers.
uh, no, that's not true.
Oh, I think it might be.
That's that's
Have you?
only that's
Well, you've lived in
ever so
Africa.
slightly right.
You've right,
Yeah,
okay. I'm not being racist here, but see when you're dealing with Africa, right? See when you've got to send 3 pieces of technical equipment out there, right? Because you know 2 of them are going to be stolen, right? Am I wrong?
no, but
No, right, okay.
that doesn't. There's thieves here as well. The thing with
Not to
Africa
that
is
extent,
there's
mate.
a lot
Not
there's
to
a
that
lot more
extent.
poverty, but the corruption isn't inherent in the people, it's inherent in the system.
Okay.
Because if the person that at a low end job sees the person above him stealing, he's going to do it as well. And that principle goes all the way up to the president.
So
And
the
so you end up with an entire system that is on the
yeah,
take,
but
and then
if
you end up with a system that doesn't operate in any other way.
but then the corruption is inherent in the people as well because it goes all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, but people aren't born inherently corrupt.
Okay. But they learn fast.
That's
They learn fast.
well, yeah. I don't like generalizing to start with, and the thing that people don't understand about Africa is how enormous it is.
Hmm.
I mean, you can fit most of the rest of the world's land
You
masses
can fit
in the
America.
African
You can
continent.
fit
I mean,
America.
just
All of North America, all of Central America, all of the UK, China.
mhm.
You can fit and all of Europe into
I
Africa
mean, the UK is
easily.
about the same size as Madagascar.
Yeah, yeah. You can fit them all
And
into
most
Africa and
sure,
Australia, I think.
and the other problem that we've got with Africa particularly is Mr. Mercator because of the
Hmm.
map projection that most of us have had on our walls in
Yeah.
school, where the lines of latitude get closer as you go closer to the equator. You end up with Africa being massively smaller than it is, and
Yeah.
Europe being
Yeah.
massively bigger than it is.
Yeah. That's why you
Whereas,
need
in
a map
fact,
like that.
yeah, I mean, if you look at Zambia, which is not one of the largest countries in Africa, but most of Western Europe would fit in Zambia's land area.
Yeah. Western Europe's not terribly big.
Hmm. And I mean, there's countries like Botswana, for example, that are actually they had
Empty.
a slightly different colonial experience, and they have a lot of natural resources, but they've
Yeah.
used them very sensibly. And so, actually, Botswana's is a pretty together country. Um, so it's not exclusively basket cases.
Maybe we
But what
should all
about
move
all
to
of the
Africa then. Maybe we should
well,
move to Africa because they're
Zambia's
moving here.
absolutely lovely place to live.
Well, it used to be. Tell that to the
Well, what I
white
don't
farmers.
understand is why anyone would. I mean, you'd get to Calais and you'd realise how bloody awful the weather is.
Well, right,
Wouldn't
okay.
you want to just go straight
Actually,
back again?
there's a point that I was bringing up. The French system is such that once you go into France as an immigrant, right, you don't get anything in real terms until you've done a number of things. One of them is you have to apply for or you have to apply for residency. You have to give up your fingerprints, and you have to you don't get any benefits, and you're not liable for any benefits other than healthcare, right? Until you've been there for 2 years.
Well, that's so logical and sensible that it's obviously the exact opposite of what our own bunch of idiots are going to do.
That's why.
And wasn't it a certain wannabe dear leader, Keir Starmer, that was a lawyer that got the rights for immigrants to sign on to the dole? Wasn't that him?
Yes, that was Keir Starmer.
Oh, did he?
No, and 20. Was it 2002 or something like that? He did that.
Yeah, wasn't it Keir Starmer that was also didn't do anything about the whole Post Office Horizon scandal? Didn't that go across his desk as well?
Yes. Well, it went across a number of what was he the what's our return?
Director of Public Prosecutions.
Yeah, but it went across a number of DPPs at that point because I think it lasted for so long. But yeah, that he was one of them, yes, and he also wasn't it Keir Starmer that didn't prosecute any grooming gangs despite the evidence.
Yep, and also Jimmy Savile.
Indeed.
And they want him to be the next Prime Minister. Yeah, that's gonna work out so well.
I'll look at Keir Starmer, and all I ever see when I look at him is a guy that's shitting himself. He's so far out his depth, it's unbelievable.
He's puppet. He's a classic puppet.
Yeah, he is. I know. He doesn't know it.
You listen to him talk, and he's utterly vacuous. They don't have any ideas. They don't have any plans. They're gonna just do. When back in the 90s, for many years, Zambia had a one-party state under Kenneth Kaunda, and then in the early 90s, they had this. There was this move towards multi-party democracy, and so for the very first time, they had different political parties, and the whole country was like, oh, freedom and democracy and all this nonsense. And I remember getting a taxi home back to my dad's late one night, and I'd been talking about it to friends and stuff, and so I just asked this fairly old taxi driver, massively beat up taxi. And I said, so what do you think of this whole multi-party democracy thing? And he said, boss, it's going to be the same taxi, just different driver.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to get.
But that's always the case. I don't think
it's a different driver. There's just the company that owns the taxi will be the same.
You can't change a system from within it.
No.
Can't. And I think that's a reasonable point to finish on. I've had a great conversation, Ed.
It's been good fun.
I've enjoyed myself tonight. I don't think we've been terribly controversial, but had our moments.
Maybe a little bit, but
we've had our moments.
I've tried to rein in my controversy.
Yeah, so do I. Trust me. But as always, it's been great for you.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yo, I got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care. shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say, yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
I can't contain it, I'm coming out with a statement. You really changed, man, all your music and arrangement. You don't know shit, shut your mouth, you can save it. I'm the same dude that got his come up from the basement. 100 songs, 100 weeks, didn't change it. Experiments, development, intelligence, and patience. I'll do it all again, cause I never feel complacent. Let's keep the good vibes, positivity's contagious. I'm never looking back, cause I made a life that's passionate. A college graduate suppressing all his talents, yeah. He found a way to go and change, become an advocate. For taking control of your life, go out and battle. And you think you have a dream, then act on it. Get after it, get out your head and fucking capture it. You got one life to master it. Don't give up on your future, we all start losers. We're all late bloomers, gotta struggle through the sewer.
What you say, yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say, yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.